Hey everybody, Star641 here, and welcome to my first video of the months of Gainax. For this one, we are going to take a look at one of the most popular and most well-known anime out there, Neon Genesis Evangelion. Oy vey. Okay, I'm gonna make it no surprise here, I hate this show. I hate this show a lot. Like, we're talking, this is one of my least favorite anime out there, but we'll get to that in a bit as to why that is. First up, let's talk about the story. Second Impact has happened. It has destroyed a good majority of the human race and allowed creatures called angels to take over. And the only hope for humanity is the Evangelion units. We have all these people trying to stop the angels from taking over or putting the race through extinction. Or are we? To be blunt, the story is very confusing. Normally, I go for this kind of story because, to be kind of blunt, I like dark storylines like this, and I do think that they usually portray things like that the best. The problem is, and this is my opinion here, the story is boring. I don't know if it's just personal tastes here, but I was bored by the show fast. And we're talking like bored as in I wanted to stop watching and I preferred to watch Mahoro Matic. Let that sink in for a minute. I'm not saying I hate Neon Genesis Evangelion's story, because if it could provide me with a bit of entertainment, then maybe, just maybe, it could have been a better show. But nope, the entertainment. Also, the story gets really confusing, especially towards the end. And about half the time in the final 3 episodes, I had no idea what was going on. And one of the few times I did, I wanted to bang my head against a wall. So, you have my rough estimation of the story. What about the characters? I cannot believe that these characters are as so aggravating as they are. This is by far one of my most hated character casts, Gendo aside. And I've already talked about Gendo Ikari in depth in another video. I hate him. But he's not the only one. Alright, I'm going to start on a positive note with characters. My favorite character in the show is Misato, because she was the only character who could be kind of entertaining and still keep me entertained in the story, and she's probably one of the only reasons I actually went back to Neon Genesis Evangelion and was still watching it and didn't quit it. I'm dead serious. But even then, she has her own problems. I hate how obnoxious she can be sometimes, and her whole love interest with Kaji got kind of annoying. I'm not going to talk about Kaji, though I didn't mind him either. Next up, Rei Ayanami. Of the 3 main characters, she is by far the most interesting. The problem is her personality is as interesting as a rock. It's more so the mystery of what she is and how she came to be that makes her interesting, not necessarily her personality. And even if it was, my god, the relationship with her and Shinji is creepy. Because she's, and this is a spoiler alert, she's a clone of Shinji's mother. Yeah, I'm not touching any more of that subject with a 40-foot pole. But, needless to say, Rei creeps the fuck out of me. More so because of her relationship with Shinji. We'll get to him in a minute. Next up, And the ones I want to talk about, Asuka. If Gendo was not my most hated character, Asuka would be. I'm dead serious when I say this. I hate Asuka Langley. I'll give her credit. In her first appearance, she acts kind of badass. To give her credit. And in the end of Evangelion, she at least was... Well, I'll get to that later, though, because I'm going to separate those two reviews. But in the rest of the series, she is the bitch. Like, worse than Misato. And Misato can be kind of a bitch at times. She's worse. I cannot describe to you how aggravatingly annoying she is when she's like this, and how her relationship with Shinji is frustrating. I'll describe her as one of the worst tsunderes out there because she becomes so unlikable even with a sympathetic past. Seriously, I hate Asuka. And then finally, we get to the main character himself, Shinji Ikari. Many describe his character to be a loser, pussy, all that kind of stuff. You know what? I think people hate on him a little too much. True, he's not exactly a great character, and true, he's still one of my more hated of the characters of the cast, but that's for totally different reasons, and reasons I'll get into the next review of. But I don't hate Shinji in the show. He bugs me, but I don't necessarily hate him. And I do think he's overhated. Asuka deserves to be hated. Gendo deserves to be hated. Shinji just deserves to get a slap in the face. And then move on. Seriously, that's all I view for Shinji. Overall, and the rest of the character casts are either one-note ones, or, once again, head-bashing characters. Like I said before, besides Misato, Kanji, and Rei, the entire cast makes me want to bash my head against the wall in the show. Next up, the animation. The animation, when it's working right, is some of the best of its time. Admittedly, for 1995, this isn't half bad animation. The problems come into these fold when the budget runs out. Specifically, episodes 24 and 25, where I feel just the budget of Gainax ran out completely. The show becomes so badly animated, and it's some of the worst animation I've ever seen because of it. 2, the still images. Okay, I'm guilty for this myself because I'm not as well knowing of stuff like this, but in a studio which knows how to do anime, the still images with them become boring and all that. True, I don't think it's the absolute worst animation, but God, does that bug me. And third, I'm not sure if this was used in the series itself, but I do want to mention on this. I hate when live action is used in an anime. I absolutely despise it because it, to me, feels like it doesn't fit. It doesn't fit with an anime. Keep an anime. Don't make it a live action show. If you want to do a live action show, make it live action. Don't mix them. Okay, rant over. Overall, the animation is spotty at best, terrible at worst. Next up, the music. Okay, this is one of the more positive things I'll give the show. The music is not bad. Notable tracks are the opening, A Cruel Angel's Thesis, which I gotta admit did get stuck in my head and serves its purpose well. And the other notable track would have to be Decisive Battle. Now, I admit to saying that there's a Decisive Battle version I like more elsewhere, but this one at least provided the first version of it, and it's not terrible. It's just not all that memorable always. Overall, the soundtrack fits the show perfectly, so with the soundtrack, I'll at least say no complaints, and it's one of the few times that I'm going to say that. I've said I hate the characters. I've said I hate the animation, and I've said I hate the story. But what puts this as my least favorite anime ever? How boring I felt it was. I don't know why I felt it so boring. I really don't. But this is by far the most bored I was ever with an anime. Hell, the movies, even End of Eva, did better beyond here. The series was boring. I hate the series, and I will hope to hell I never have to watch this piece of crap again. However, and you're going to be kind of weirded out by me for saying this, I do recommend watching this series. And I'll give a reason why. It is one of the most unique anime out there. Yes, I may have found it boring, but that does not mean you will. Let me stress, a lot of this review is personal opinion. I may hate this series, but I think you will still have a chance to like it. And I really hope you will, because honestly, this does deserve some kind of greatness. And if it was done better, it almost was a great anime. And it is one of the revolutionary anime. For those reasons alone, I do recommend seeing it. At least once. And if you hate it, just be glad you don't ever have to watch it again. Like I am. I give Neon Genesis Evangelion a 4 out of 10. If there was not that respect value I do have for creating future shows similar to it, and it saving Gainax, I will be very honest, I will be a lot more harsh with the show. And I was pretty dang harsh with it to begin with. I am much more harsh with it. And honestly, this was one of the most painful experiences I've ever had to go through in anime, period. And I hope never to have to watch this show ever again. Anyways, that's all from me. This has been Star 6 Wars 1. And at least for the next review, we're going to continue with Neon Genesis Evangelion with the End of Eva and Death and Rebirth if I really want to. See you guys then.